estate sector. My guest is already here. We'll take a break now. When we'll come back, we'll hit the ground running. Please stay with us. Welcome back. The program is Today's Business, and today we're taking a look at how to actually set agenda to the incoming administration, as we'll take a look at the beet industry and we're looking at harnessing potential of real estate sector for economic growth. My guest is already here, and I have Mr. Martins Olubenga Popoola, a quantity surveyor and also a lecturer at in the Department of Quantity Surveying, Rufus, Giwa, Polytechnic. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
Let's take a look at the figure. The deficit we also talked about, 28 million deficit. Would you agree with that figure?
Well, the figure is not the problem. The fact is on the streets. The kind of housing that we have, are they the expected kind of housing that we should have? The population is growing, and if you see that, yeah, we have talked about 17 million. It has been debated. Now it strikes the mind that we have 28 million, staggering 28 million out of 200 million people. Now let's say we don't want to give special housing to children. Let's say we have about 60% of the population as adults and youth. Now divided by two, let's say 30%. Of 200 million. So what we are saying is the kind of housing that we have now, are they enough to cope with the kind of population that we have? Are they the type that we actually need as a people? So these are the issues, not about the figure. Because the last time we had census, I think the figures are outdated. We are supposed to even have another census this year. Yes. That's housing and population census. And unfortunately, it could not happen. So we can't be objective in saying this is the this is the deficit that we actually have.
When you even take a look at these figures, it also looks to me that it's also a place where people should put their money. 28 million housing deficits. That shows that the sector should be lucrative.
No doubt. No doubt. You can see that housing estates are springing up in virtually all the parts of the country, and you can't divorce that from the new policy on infrastructure banking, where you now have access to fund directly from a particular bank, like the mortgage bank. You can actually access funds to do that, but the funds are still not enough. Like what we see is individuals developing their houses over time. Like a civil servant can build his house for the next 10, 15 years, whereas he has only 30 years or 35 years to be on the job. So when he's 60, is just saying, I'm moving to my house. And when you get to the house, it's not like it is completed. So if we have a working system, you just get a key, just like we call it turnkey. You just get a key to your house and you'll be paying from your salary. That's mortgage. And I can tell you, any money you sink into real estate is worth every penny. And the returns are high because the market is there. We are talking of 200 million population, a growing population. In fact, Nigerian population is expected to rise to like 400 by year 2050. And we are just there. This is 2023 already. So in 20 something years, we are looking at a population that might likely double. So the sector is still very fertile.
To close this gap, who will require 21 trillion naira to do that. So you think that's also feasible?
More than feasible. Nigeria is rich by all ramifications. Is it about natural resources? Is it about the confidence of foreign investors in Nigeria? We have it. All we just need is leadership to drive this. Nigeria has all the potentials. Nigeria has all it takes. Nigeria has money. The country is rich. When you have people, you have money. The population is enough asset. So 21 trillion is no money. It's not something big.
In the next 19 days, we'll have a new marshal in town that Ashwaja Balak made to know. I'm also looking at this real estate sector. what would you want him to do to ensure that we actually close this gap as it takes a power?
Well, it will be signing for a 4-year tenure. Let me conclude that it is not possible to fix it in 4 years. But what we expect from a serious government at this stage is to see a way of, number one, setting a quality foundation for such growth. Now you don't expect the government to do everything to start building for the people. But when you look at the bottlenecks that exist presently, you try to reduce them, or possibly tweak the system in a way that it will spur organic growth. Like you free a lot of taxation. You make funds accessible. Then you adjust the land tenure system. Then there will be growth. People will see reasons to invest in this system, and before you know, it's just bring competition everywhere. People want to go from 2-story building to 3-story building to 7, and when there's regulation, you will see that the houses will be safe. Now we are having failures of 7-story presently in Lagos. One just happened last month, but with regulation you can even go 21. And we don't need to populate everywhere with small bungalows.
I wanted to ask you that this is about high-rising buildings that we actually need.
Yes, we are already encroaching into the bushes that should sustain the population. We are already going to reserve areas. We are leaving the cores of the city. We are relocating to the fringes. We are already causing an imbalance in the ecosystem with the way we are developing, and the rate of urbanization is high. So when people come to the cities like that and you want to house them, you increase the area of the city. What we need to do now is to grow vertically, so we can have more people housed within a small area of land. Then if it's safe, it brings shared resources like parking, like electricity, like the areas that people would need for shopping and stuff. But then we can share all that when we grow vertical. Then the city will be neater. Then you bring in what people will call facility managers. So it is not everything you spend your time as an occupant working on. Some people will spend their time doing that while you go for your normal work. Then you just pay for all those services. So there will be efficiency in the system. There will be productivity. Yeah, there will be efficiency and productivity.
Let's take calculate real estate capital, for example. When you go to the major cities, you see that it has also become a commercial area. People are actually leaving that place for the suburbs. What do you think could be done in that area to ensure that we also have residential places there?
Well, the issue of Ondo State, we have not really destabilized the system, but it just needs upgrades. Like Ijapo Estate is still a standard estate, but you see that there are no high-rise buildings, apartments in all those areas. Majorly bungalow, maximum 1-story building. I don't think Ondo State has major problem because the population is not much. But we'll be having challenges in cities like Port Harcourt, like Abuja, Lagos, Kano. Those are the areas with a high population. So Ondo State per se, if you see what we call traffic in Ondo State, it's not a child's play. When you look at places like Lagos, you can spend the whole day in traffic in Lagos. But in Ondo State, you can't spend 30 minutes in traffic. It shows that the population is not as high.
Does it mean you are suggesting that there should be a policy for people in these places that we have mentioned, Abuja, Port Harcourt and Lagos, to have high-rising buildings?
Yes, effective planning. You know, when you are planning for a city, you don't plan for today. You plan for 50 40, 20 years ahead. So you expect that people will continue to move to Lagos. You expect that people will continue to move, except there's something different happening in some areas. Like I foresee Ondo State becoming another economic capital. Like if we can have the seaport in the southern part of Ondo State, then bitumen coming up, Ondo State will likely experience a boom in population, and that is an indicator that real estate will soon do well in Ondo State. So there's a need for the government to plan ahead of this. So people should start looking at Ore as the new Lagos. I'm not even particular about the areas where we have this seaport, because people will likely come to Ore. I'm seeing Ore as the confluence of land and water, and I think that will spur development. So Ore is likely to be the next commercial capital of Ondo State.
I purposely asked you the question of high-rising buildings that you are also
advocate.
So, but let's take a look at the issues of building collapse. We also see a lot of it. So if you have high-rising buildings like that, don't you think we'll continue to experience?
No, we should not. These things are no rocket science. It's happening in other parts of the world. Cocoa House is still standing. You know how many story? About 20-something story. So it's just about doing the right thing. So the land is not telling you it cannot carry it. If it can't, then you upgrade the quality of the land. You can do firefight and foundation. It is a subject of research. If we're able to do the right thing and the regulators are doing this, the supervisory oversight, we can have as much as 50, 60, and it will stand, and it will stand the test of time. So we don't have problem in that area. We have quality engineers, we have quality professionals that can make it happen.
We also have quacks amongst them.
It's about regulation. They can't operate. They can't fester where regulation is strong. Yes, I can assure you that we can have them. We can have 30, we can have 20 standing, and it will stand for years. So we don't have a problem with that.
So what other measures do you think can be adopted also bridges gap of 28 million people not having access to housing?
Well, it's not that we will solve it in one day, but I can assure you that if we have proper planning, if we have purposeful governance, we can bridge the gap. For example, our cities, if you look at Obadeshidaro, for example, let me use Ondo State as an example. Behind the first building that you see along the road, we have a slum. So there's a room for urban renewal. If we do urban renewal and regulation is brought in, that this is the standard of building that you can build in these areas. You know, there are CBDs, there are central business districts in every part of the state capital. There are some areas that you know this is an area of high, net worth. So there are some kind of building that can be allowed, a kind of development that can be allowed in such areas. So if we do that, people will bring money and upgrade the facilities we have here, giving us more space. You know, we have housing as a sector, and we have a commercial occupation as another sector. So we can bridge the gap of housing by using infrastructure bank, by using mortgage banks. If we release more money to developers, like government is reducing the tax, or they have even reduced the tax, or they are giving them tax holidays. So if there are more estates, then more people will be housed. But regulation is still the issue. If we say no building should go less than five floors in these areas, people will comply.
I don't think we will have the political will to also push that through.
No, it should not be an issue, because you are bringing something good to the system. If there's a policy that is not good for the people will resist it. But this is a very fantastic policy. Like, you want to make everybody to have decent accommodation. Now, for people to have this decent accommodation, then you have to increase their income. So there should be a deliberate policy to increase the income available to the people. Like the minimum wage is not enough to give people a living wage. Yes, it's not enough. So you have to, dependence on government, for work, we have to go down. Then it means we have to spur manufacturing. It's intertwined. It's not a thing you can fix standalone. You have to develop every other sector so that this sector can also have its own trickle-down effect.
You've also talked so much about government involvement. What about the private sector? When you also take a look at the fact that government has no business in business.
Well, maybe that's the way you see what I've said. All along, I've been talking about government deliberately making policies that will allow private sector, to prosper. If mortgage system is allowed, maybe I should even look at it from what the federal government should do. Federal government should hands off, trying to do everything. They should allow the state and local government to take decision on some things. Part of them is this housing. If the state is empowered, then the state can, be like a guarantor to known developers who will develop estates for people to live in. However, the state should not limit it to building alone. Other sectors will have to be worked on to ensure that they all prosper. It is when those sectors prosper that they are able to, that the people will be able to pay for this housing. It is not enough to have empty houses.
Let's be specific now because of our time. And what areas do you think you will need changes to ensure that that industry strive as we also move to this new government?
Okay, the first is the land tenure system.
Okay.
Land ownership system.
Okay.
That is very important. As it is now, it's neither there nor here. You don't expect that traditional rulers will still be fighting, for compensation for land taking, and you say you want to go and develop there. It won't work. There are many issues about land ownership that have gone to Supreme Court, that has been in court for years. There should be a new rethink on ownership of land. The ones that are in the hand of government, the government has not been transparent about it. A lot of time, governors will refuse to issue CFO. Okay, there's this OCOS that Ondo State has done. It's very fantastic. If other climes, this kind of initiative is brought, that you'll be able to have CFO speedily.
So what other system would you now like to recommend?
Well, there's no perfect system anywhere in the world, especially where there's history. Everybody want to, say my grandfather, my great grandfather, owned this land. Yeah, there must be a win-win situation so that will reduce the barrage of cases that we have in courts, so that development can happen. A lot of even completed houses are now having mark of court order on them. So this doesn't, encourage development. So we need to find a way. Maybe we can have a system whereby the governor is not entirely the one that would decide on the land. If somebody has been able to meet all the requirements, the governor should, by virtue of the law, issue CFO. Not at the instance of, not like the governor is like a king. Like, if I wish, I give you the CFO. If I wish, I can withdraw the CFO. There was a case in Kaduna State where governor decided that he will withdraw the CFOs of some banks for not complying with court order on new Naira redesign policy. All these governors become like tin gods. This should not happen. This should.
What about the issue of family land? Because it looks to me that that's also an area where we have major issue when it comes to court cases.
Yes, the family land ownership, where the faiths tell us that the land is the Lord's, but some people have been using it. Now you want to take them away and now reallocate the land. There should be a regulation that will limit the way people own this land, so that it will be accessible to people that meaningfully want to develop this land. Maybe compensation should be made speedily available to the landowners so that development can occur. Because a lot of land space are now just lying fallow because there are cases on them. So there's an encumbrance. So you can't go into the development.
So aside this land tenure system, what other ones would you want government to also adjust?
Yeah, that's access to funds.
Okay.
Access to funds. If there's enough money, if there's enough access, development is such that you can't use your personal funds to do all these things because it involves large amount of money. But our banks, they prefer to lend to maybe high net worth customers. They prefer to lend to foreign businesses and airlines, or maybe these people that deals in high net worth businesses. But they know the money from real estate will not come within the next 1 or 2 months. They know it's going to take like 20-25 years. So they can't afford to. It means there's not enough money. Maybe the bank can create the central bank can create a special fund so that it's not going to be too difficult to release good money to developers. Then we can have enough.
Also creating an enabling environment. Maybe there's a new place now government will go there, provide infrastructure in terms of good road network and also electricity. Yes,
another one is infrastructural development. Now we have basically one major mode of transportation in Nigeria. Transportation drives development. It drives production. It drives efficiency. But when, for instance, there's no access, to easy transportation, nobody wants to go to that area. People want to run away from such areas, but the land is there. So what we are saying is there should be a deliberate effort to ensure that there are other forms of transportation, like you can have intracity train system. Like I'm advocating for Ondo State to have its own train system that will drive people from Akoko to the shores of Ilajalo government, so that people can move easily. We mustn't all rely on road transportation. There are some areas that it is important that we have underground trains. I expect that the Southwest governors should come together and give us a train system that will go from, say, Kwara State to Lagos, cutting across all the states of the Southwest. And if the Northwest will see it, they pick it from there. Before you know, we don't need to see a federal government that will do everything.
And Popoola, because of our time, let's quickly ask you this: the issue of food sufficiency and also the need to bridge the gap of 80 million people who are also in need of houses.
That is why I said we should not develop all the available land.
Okay.
We are already going to where our food is coming from and our oxygen is coming from, because the bushes, they give us the oxygen, we return the carbon dioxide. So I expect that we'll balance this thing. And
in the last 25 minutes, I thought I would have been speaking with Mr. Martins Olubenga Popoola, a quantity surveyor and also a lecturer in the Department of Quantity Surveying at Rufus Giwa Polytechnic. We're going to be taking a look at harnessing potential of real estate sector for economic growth. Also, as we expect the swearing of the president-elect on May 29th of this month. I want to thank you so much for sharing your thought with us on the show today.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure having you. Whoever is going to be on the show today, join us on Friday for another one. Kunle Areyo is my name. Good morning.